wife, girlfriend. No hands, no hands. Well done! Walk, walk, walk.
Before we get back to the video, you need to take a look at Privacy Internet Access VPN. Not only hide your identity, activity, and location, access content worldwide, get unlimited bandwidth, and receive unbreakable VPN security with a no logs policy and tons of customizable privacy features. Your data will be protected by one of the most transparent and privacy-focused VPNs out there. Privacy Internet Access also has 50 servers in 50 states. So if you need to look like you're browsing in Florida, Washington, or any state in between, they've got individual IPs for that. And that's important if you want to avoid sporting event blackouts, access local websites which are blocked outside state borders, watch premieres before they show up in your time zone, and hackers can't see keystrokes or passwords. Click on the link below to get my discount for Privacy Internet Access. Now, let's get back into the video.
But it's also equity that goes hand in hand with self-interest everywhere in the world. Because if we don't solve those equity problems, we're all going to be affected. And that's what it means when we say it is now a global commons issue. Equity and self-interest come together when we want to solve the water problem, just like when we want to solve the problem of the climate crisis. They go hand in hand. And that shift in thinking is also necessary. Equity is everyone's interest, everyone's self-interest, everywhere in the world.
Can I add something just based on what you've just said? That's also, of course, true with COVID, right? We are all only as healthy as our neighbor is on our street, in our city, in our region, in our nation, and globally. And did we solve that? Like, did we actually manage to vaccinate everyone in the world? No. So highlighting water as a global commons and what it means to work together and see it both out of that kind of global commons perspective, but also the self-interest perspective, because it does have that parallel. It's not only important, but it's also important because we haven't managed to solve those problems which had similar attributes. And water is something that people understand. You know, climate change is a bit abstract. Some people understand it really well. Some understand it a bit. Some just don't understand it. Water, every kid knows how important it is to have water. When you're playing football and you're thirsty, you need water. So there's also something about really getting citizen engagement around this and really, in some ways, experimenting with this notion of the common good. Can we actually deliver this time in ways that we have failed miserably other times? And hopefully we won't keep failing on the other things, but anyway.
No one who is alive today had ever experienced a true pandemic. And I'm hoping that now that this is over, people are going to recognize that some serious errors were made and not repeat those. That's the best you can get out of it.
So what do you tell those people?
Vote Republican. That's what a lot of them are going to do anyway.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, more than 1 million people transferred over to the Republican Party, I think in 2021 alone. Find out what that number is. But, you look at guys like Ron DeSantis, who kept Florida open and had some pretty reasonable policies in terms of, like, what to do about COVID. And, he mapped it out on television. He was, widely criticized for this, where he was saying, like, we need to protect our elders. We need to, make sure that medical care is available for those people. And everyone else, you should be able to do whatever you want to do and protect your freedom.
Anything is justified in preventing them from taking office, is it?
No. You know what's not justified? Using armed violence to try to kill people in the Capitol. That's not justified.
Answer this question.
Huh?
Answer this question.
What is
was
the
it
question?
appropriate? The question is, was it appropriate to bury the Hunter Biden?
You're talking about the press doing that?
He's saying that's what they did, and that is what they did. They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
And we know for a fact that that's what they did?
Of course. You don't
but
follow
I mean,
this.
saying you know for a fact that that's what they did. I don't know what they did.
I know, because you only watch MSNBC.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Well, then you would know about this.
I do know about that.
Well, you're acting like you know.
I do know about that, and I do watch Fox. But the point is, we're going to prove now that the press tried to.
They're admitting it.
The
That's
press
not
is admitting it.
Yes, that's not even an issue anymore. They're saying, yes, we basically did this because we didn't want this to throw the election. Yes?
I don't know that they've all said this, and I believe strongly
Well, the New York
in the
Times
First
definitely
Amendment.
did.
My dad was a reporter. I believe in it, and I think you have to make sure that you're treating people fairly. But I think Rob's point here is that we are dealing with a man who used to be the president right now, who literally tried to lead an armed insurrection, and that's why we're so focused on this right now. And I have not been, as you've noticed, as bombastic as my friend here, about what's going to happen. About what's going to happen coming out of what they just got out of Mar-a-Lago. I don't know. And just as I don't know what's going to happen in these cases, I believe you got to let the Justice Department do their jobs.
Dear fellow Americans, I just watched the Bill Maher clip when he's interviewing Amy Klobuchar and Rob Reiner. I've met Rob Reiner a couple of times. He's a nice gentleman, talented director. Like his work as a director. We disagree on most issues politically, I'm sure, and vehemently in some instances. But what we have to find out, what we have to be accountable for, is finding common ground in the truth. Now, Rob Reiner's hitting this January 6th thing, and they want to bring down Trump and crucify him. For whatever reasons they have their reasons. We know what they are, some of us. But for 3 years, the American people saw the insurrection against the United States of America with Antifa and other groups, the lootings, the burnings, the disrespect for law and order. Irrespective of mistakes individuals have made, the overall institutions, the disrespect. We've seen now how the FBI has colluded with Russian collusion with Schiff and Schumer to bring down the president, to President Trump, with innuendo and lies and a fake dossier. Rob, don't you know about that, Rob? And Klobuchar said something, let justice system play out. I agree with that, but let it play out fairly. Don't let it play out the way you guys have been doing it, you see. Now, when the American people saw 3 years of insurrection, of lies, of the left trying to assassinate, and the right, the globalists, let's say, Trump on the steps of the Caesar Senate, we have to admit, Rob, what Bill Maher is saying, that we now know, the New York Times has said it, that the truth about the Hunter Biden laptop has been hidden to sway an election. And you have to admit that, Rob. If we are to solve this country, if we are to bring this country together, you have to admit this kind of thing, because that's terrible, Rob. That's a bad thing. And you played meathead. You're in touch with the American people, but I understand the ivory towered. I understand that. You got to come back to earth.
They didn't give a fuck. You want to play football? Take this fucking thing. And I want you to do it publicly so that I can get more money out of those other people that are thinking about it and they're on the fence.
Yeah, and then we're going to virtue signal to say, look how righteous our league is. We have 95% compliance.
Yes.
With the vaccine.
Compliance.
And if you don't, we're going to send a stooge to your team to show you graphs of your vaccination percentage of your team compared to the rest of the league, which actually happened.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the stooge like?
Oh, I mopped the floor with him.
Did you?
Yeah. See, again, that's why people are like, no one knew your vaccination status. You lied to your teammates. No. Day 3 of training camp, they sent this stooge in, and he showed these slides about what your vaccination percentage was in your team, where you compare to the rest of the league. And I started asking him questions about liability. Oh, I'm not a lawyer. Okay, cool. But you're in here talking about all these different things, and you don't talk about anybody's personal health issues. There's 0 exemptions. You took out religious exemptions. You took out PEG exemptions. You took out anybody's ability to have an opinion. Oh, I don't want to do this. Yeah. Well, it's not only going to affect your day-to-day status on the team, but your ability to get a job, your ability to keep a job, your ability to get a tryout if you get cut from this team. because you want to put a percentage above 90% of your team where you guys can have some sort of like special virtue. Like, look how amazing we are. We're above the 90% threshold here.
And then
they scared teams and said, if you had an outbreak caused by a non-vaccinated player, you not only forfeit that game if you had enough players out, but you wouldn't get paid for that week. And here I am showing up to training camp, Joe, the first day, and we got 5 people who work for the organization out with COVID, all fully vaxxed. And I got COVID from a fully vaxxed individual who only got vaxxed to keep his potential of being a part of the NFL.